on YouTube? Welcome to another video, and we're benching. Now, I've noticed something in the videos that I put out. The benching videos, even though we're doing absolutely minuscule weight, seem to get the most amount of views, and I'm not sure why. It must be something with like the culture and people obsessed with benching and having a big bench, which most people who tell you is not the best sign of strength overall. That's why we kind of do multiple lifts. If anything, an appropriate deadlift is probably the best, case for how strong somebody is. But I'm going to keep pumping out videos, so if those happen to spike and get more views than regular, that's fine. I'm hoping it drives some traffic to the other stuff that I'm putting out, but it's all important with, everything that you're doing. You treat everything with some sort of progressive resistance and plan like you would any other lift, and I hope that's evident in these videos. You should be getting stronger at everything, and there's different ways to do it. You can focus on rep work, increase reps with similar weights, or you can, just a cold, hard, nice bench with a decent amount of weight as long as you're staying safe. So this rebuild series is really just showing you how I'm going about it, trying to get back to where I was so that I can, break past those, past PRs and things that I've got. But I want to do it safely. Kind of see a little dip on the bench there. There are some times when I'm benching where I'll miss groove. That mind-muscle connection, that neurological connection just kind of dips for a second, and the more you do something, the better you'll get at it. That's why taking this weight, moving up incrementally, and just reconditioning my body, and this is actually close grip here, so I'm hitting the close grip and the wide grip, and just to get some variety. Obviously with the close grip, longer range of motion, generally you're going to do a little less weight than the competition pinky on ring or more bench. So do both if you want. I like it. I like benching. I understand why guys are watching videos about that, but it's probably one of the least impressive lifts that I'm doing. But if you're in here for the technique and everything, that's fine. I actually prefer to do the overhead press. I think the overhead press and the deadlift are probably the best gauge of strength for anybody. They both require a lot of stability, not only in the core, but actually everything, in order to, truly manipulate a weight, press it in any way, shape, or form, or take it off the ground. There's no bench you're pushing up against. There's no rack you're engaging. There's no variability in depth when it comes to like a squat or something. It's an all or nothing lift, and I think these two are the best ways to gauge strength from like a pure standpoint. So anything else you can manipulate. Squats, you can go a lot wider. You could do the same thing with deadlifts. I would probably say a conventional deadlift, because sumo is in a class of its own when it comes to lifting, and somebody who does both, I can tell you sumo is significantly easier compared to conventional. But at the same time, look at what somebody's doing. I'm not going to call us athletes because we're not athletes. You're not getting paid money to, perform in any sort of way, even though you are training athletic types of events, which I hate when people try to, get into an argument about whether lifting weights. Yeah, anything that is in preparation or anything that involves an athletic event that you can measure, that you can track, that you can do anything to get any numerical value out of it is an athletic event. My only thing is, unless you're continually competing in sanctioned meets where there's a standard or a competition, and you are not an athlete. So, random tangent there, but I almost use the term strength athlete. But, if you took a lot of us who lift weights in this context and put us into any sports, a lot of us come from different sports. I come from soccer, from wrestling, still love me some MMA and stuff like that, but we have those athletic connections in our body. We've just decided, for financial sake, we're not going to be elite at anything. Like, why get paid for certain random things? So do what you like to do, stay in shape, and do things like that. And you can always transition. You can be a powerlifter or bodybuilder if you want. As much as people want to say those aren't athletic events, they are, though, because there's a metric of standard. Obviously, in bodybuilding, there's no metric of strength or endurance kind of, trained for in any way. In powerlifting, it's an all or nothing thing. You either hit everything you need to hit and qualify those numbers, or you don't. So the numeric measuring of that. But anyway, back to the whole thing here. Mixing in the strength lifting, anything that's progressive resistance designed to get you stronger with the bodybuilding stuff, You know, in bodybuilding, I guess we could just define as like rep range stuff, right? Like total progressive overload via volume of high reps, and you can combine both into a single workout. Kind of what I'm doing here is you've probably seen before. It's a whole upper body, so we're doing chest, back, and shoulders. We've already destroyed our body twice this week in the lower body, and then we've hit everything else once. So just to round it out. But again, there's a structure and pattern to what I'm doing. So you may only care about the benching and stuff, but understand the lats are just as important, the shoulders are just as important. And I'm a firm believer that if you're benching, you should be overhead pressing in some way. It should be with dumbbells, it should be with the barbell. The barbell is going to be the greatest carryover. You're going to need that core stability to hold, 150 plus pounds overhead and then press it without your entire body collapsing. Combine that with everything else that you do, though, and you're going to build a well-rounded physique. You're going to be in a position where you can generate and use all of those muscle fibers in any event that you're doing. These more compound events, you're hitting everything all at once, so if there's a weak link, it'll usually be exposed. Deadlift can be something like a glute when locking out, or a lower back. You'll notice rounding and stuff like that. So there's a lot of telltale signs of how well-rounded somebody is, and that's why you kind of have to hit everything and make sure that you're, rounding out your repertoire. That's why I think bodybuilding is a great complement to powerlifting. A more conditioned, refined muscle will only assist your strength. There's a point, though, where you get too globular and too much muscle mass where it impedes mobility, and then you have an issue there. But assuming you're doing things in a natural context, that's generally how I feel on those things. So I've kind of glossed over a lot of tips in these videos. I'm kind of just putting stuff out there and seeing what people respond to. I like sharing my opinion on things and training. There's a lot of people coming into this sport that are very dogmatic on the way that they feel about things, and it may be applicable to one person. But I think what you're seeing here, though, is there's a lot of variety, but there's also a lot of similarities in what you're doing. And the principles don't change. Progressive resistance, recovery, nutrition. Do things in a appropriate, safe form so you don't tear anything to, push yourself back and have to deal with recovery. Things will happen from time to time. Mitigate those risks. Understand how your body feels when things are not going how they should. And then make those choices on your own, whether you want to do certain lifts or perform certain functions. I've mentioned before, I've gotten rid of stuff, I've tried stuff, and it's all on you with whatever is the best for longevity, whatever allows you to get in and work the muscle, and whatever keeps you healthy, balanced, and able to perform other things outside of the gym. Whether it's walking your dog, spending time with family, things like that. But do what you gotta do, enjoy what you have to enjoy. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching the latest video. If you want to help support the channel, I actually own my own wet shaving and grooming e-commerce website where everything's handmade by me. It's www.apexsoaps.com, and you can get a 10% off code using wet shaver. We've got some cool scents here. We've got some Coca-Cola scents, a horchata scent, traditional barbershop, just some really cool stuff. And you can purchase samples or you can buy the whole set. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out via email. Be quick to respond. Thanks for watching.